If you get this part of boutique hotel investing wrong, it could potentially cost you millions in lost revenue and headaches. But if you get it right, you won't just build a better guest experience, you'll create an entirely new revenue stream that can be worth more than any one hotel itself. Today we're talking about the biggest decision you'll make after buying a boutique hotel. Do you manage it yourself or do you outsource it? And trust me, this isn't just about guest messages or who calls the plumber. It's about building a hospitality experience that prints 5-star reviews and future equity. And I'm Blake Daly. I built a $20 million boutique hotel portfolio from the ground up, and I'm still building. I've managed in-house, I've outsourced, I've failed, I've rebuilt, and I've done some things right along the way. And I've been doing multiple 7 figures in hotel and short-term rental revenue since 2021. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to think about your management structure and how the right one could potentially create millions in added value. Most people think management is about who handles check-ins and the guests. But that's surface level thinking, and it takes being slapped in the face by that reality to realize it. Management is really about how well your guest experiences matches your brand promise. If you want to do, lackluster hotels that get out competed and then get forgotten about, cool. This video isn't for you. If, however, you want to create something with brand power that lasts and outperforms others in the market, then you want to hear this. Because here's the thing, if you decide to outsource as opposed to managing your hotel yourself with your own team, then if you outsource to the wrong company, especially one that's not local or not boutique savvy, then they're going to miss the mark entirely. So here's how it looks. On the self-management side, you control the experience and you have higher margins, and your local team gives you a tighter feedback loop, but it's also more effort and more overhead. Now on the other side, if you outsource, right, and you delegate your operations, you get out of the doing, so you have more time freedom, but you have that risk of generic service, and you often have less alignment with your brand between the management company and your hotel. And here's what I've learned. If the guest experience is critical to your brand, and boutique hotels it almost always is, you can't just hand the keys to someone who doesn't know the area, the avatar, and your values. Self-managing gives you margin and brand control, where outsourcing gives you scale, but only if it's the right team with the right experience. And 99% of STR managers, they don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to boutique hotels. They're used to lock boxes, not lobbies. And I've learned that lesson the hard way when I tried to outsource management in my first boutique hotel, and it's the reason why I've been vertically integrated since then with a full in-house management team in place. When it comes down to it, operations isn't just about efficiency, it's about hospitality, right? Because how you operate is how your guests experience your brand. And it comes down to 3 big management pillars that you need to understand and know how to implement, right? And first is systems. And these are how you run internally, right? Your systems, your SOPs, your checklists, your processes that your team uses to run the business. And then you have the hospitality pillar. And that's how you make your guests feel. That's all the little touches, right? It's how you communicate and set expectations from check-in, during their stay, and to check out. And then you have the accountability pillar, and that's how you check the work, right? You've got to have systems in place, KPIs that are managed, and managers who know what they're working towards. And overarching all of that is your brand, and it's how Sonder can run these cool apart hotels and not own the real estate, but have their own app, and you know who I'm talking about, right? That's their brand. What they have is good operations and brand at scale, despite the flaw in their business model of not actually owning the real estate. So whether you self-manage or outsource, you need both structure and soul, right? If you miss the structure, you burn out. But if you miss the soul, your brand dies, right? And your hotel performance goes down. So what you need is a guest messaging system, right? Think about all the ways that you automate the flow of communication, check-in instructions, things about the area and what they can do when they're staying there. You also need a maintenance resolution flow. So if something happens, how do you dispatch out your maintenance staff to take care of that problem quickly so it's not impacting their stay? And often that's a way that potential bad reviews turn into 5-star reviews because it's your responsiveness, it's how you deal with hospitality, and it's how you take care of the guest when an issue presents itself. And you also have to have a dashboard for your financials and key operations metrics, right? This is your KPIs. How is your guest review score? What's your lead time like? What's your cleaning scores at your hotels? These are the things that you and your management team need to be able to be reviewing, right? If it's you doing the work, you're the one that drives that with your team. And if you're outsourced, you have to make sure that the managers in place are hitting those metrics. So you're kind of reviewing the metric and the scorecard to make sure those are being met, and then dealing with the managers, the outsource company, if they're not. And you also have to have a way to track hospitality touch points, right? Oftentimes these are through reviews or through NPS scores. You have to have a feel for what your guests think about you and your brand and your team on site, right? Because if you're not tracking those things, if you don't have those hospitality measures in place, it's the same thing. You're gonna go downhill over time. So self-management, you run these, right? So it's your messaging, your maintenance, your hospitality touch points, and your KPIs for brand performance. And then with outsource management, you still need the checks and balances of these things and be reviewing them, or you're just throwing your brand into the wind. Now, most people think about management as a cost center, and payroll can be expensive, believe me, and that payroll is for people, and people often can be problems. But I think all the time in our business that we need HR. But when you run a good shop, it stays under control, right? You get the right personalities, the right people in the right seat. So it comes down to you as the manager. But if you structure it right, it can become an absolute asset that builds value on its own. And here's how I build scalable operations companies inside every boutique hotel. And the big billion-dollar hotel brands do this as well. And you can follow it too. If you outsource before your systems get dialed, you're just outsourcing chaos. So you have to build in structure, and that's the first part of it. You have to document what you do. Every function, right? Guest relations, paying your taxes, how you market your listings, and setting up new listings in your PMS. It should all be documented processes so that other members of your team can do it, and that's how you build. It's identify, document, and train over and over and function by function. Then you start to place people in those roles for the systems that you built. First, you hire a VA for the admin, then an ops lead, and then you hire out W2 housekeeping and maintenance, and you keep going function by function as you outsource yourself from doing those roles. And you work yourself up to where you're now hiring out for functional leaders in your business, like a head of marketing or director of operations and so on. And you don't do that all at once, but you build like you plan to not be in the business forever. Now, here's the unlock. Once you've built a well-oiled management system, you've created a second business, your OpCo. And if you build it good enough, you'll outsource yourself out of your own company and make something twice as valuable, because then you have another asset that you can leverage or sell, your hospitality management company. So this is the PropCo and OpCo structure, and the OpCo gives you a whole new way to create value based on the EBITDA of your management company. And as a multiple, that's probably going to be a lot higher than the cap rate that your hotel would sell at. So if you ever want to sell your portfolio or raise capital, now you have two assets. You have your PropCo, your property company, which is your real estate, and then you have your OpCo, or your hospitality company, your management company. And in a lot of cases, the OpCo could be worth more than the hotel itself. So you're welcome for that tidbit, because as you take that forward one day and have a big exit, you'll look back at this and be like,
dude, that's a game changer.
So here we are. Most investors stop at the property, but the most valuable asset that you build might be the system that runs it. Self-management versus outsourcing is the wrong question, in my opinion. The right question is, what structure gives you control and scale and hospitality while creating long-term equity? There's a very real case for getting to a point and then outsourcing management, right? Hiring a company to do it for you. Take yourself out, get your time back, and then focus on scaling from there. Or as you go, you put the people in place to take yourself out, get your time back, and focus on scaling. So it's kind of the same, but just a different structure of doing it. One has more management, but more upside, and then one has less work required, but also less leverage for your future. And neither is wrong, but I'm gonna take the upside kind of person. So I'm young and have runway to blow it up. So think about your runway, your skill set, your desire to build something big and be involved in it, as it requires kind of building two businesses at once with your PropCo and your OpCo. If you guys want my exact system, my Asana boards, my SOPs, my teamwork charts, training manuals, tech stack, all that stuff, and want to plug into our community of operators doing this across the country, you can join us at hotel-launch.com. That's my hotel launch community and my mastermind for elite boutique hotel investors. It's the blueprint for building your hospitality business. And let me know in the comments, are you planning on self-managing or outsourcing? And really, why is the big question, because this conversation always interests me and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. And outside of that, I'll see you on the next one.